do that again. Let me take another deep breath. Another deep breath. This time, I'm going to breathe into my stomach. I'm going to breathe into my heart. You know what I mean? I'm going to yes, I got it. Pent up energy. A lot of pent up. I'm patient. Demanding. People have been demanding lately. My Aries people, my people with planets in Aries have been frustrated. They've been frustrated. Like, what do you do when you have Aries energy, Mars energy, and you can't get what you want? Does it go the way you want it now? So, do they destroy, smash, Hulk smash? Where's the output? Where's the output for this Aries energy? Maybe it's not about maybe the output's no put. Maybe the output's getting your lights knocked out of you. Maybe it's the flame that just has sand thrown over it or something. Or what do you do with all the Mars energy? What do you do with all the Aries energy? You can't. I can't, but I want. I won't, but I can't. Now, I'm cool with it. I'm not feeling like everything is, all my chips are on a particular number on the roulette wheel and it has to happen. Like, not like that today. But I'll tell you, the last 3 or 4 days, I've talked to people who have Aries placements. They can't ride the horse. They can't buck on the horse. You know what I mean? They want the freedom, and they can't even get that. And sometimes their freedom is through fornicative vessels or physicalness in whatever form. Imagine if you also communicated that way and you related that way. And then the sun comes into Aries and it's like, oh, it's Aries birthday season. Be bold. I'm bold. But the 2 planets are going backwards. And one of the planets, today, right now, is completely getting burned up by the sun. So, go ahead. Go try to get what you want. It's a little lesson for you. What do you do with all that? What do you do with all that energy? So, that's what's on my mind. Don't argue with me. Don't even try. It's not gonna work. Don't argue with anybody out there. If I were you and you're one of these people, I would take the lessons, I should really say this, lessons, and I'm also going to say this in future tense. I would take the lessons that Saturn and Neptune are about to give you here for the next 3 years together. We're going to do this. It's really going to kick in next February, but you got some stuff to figure out, Aries people, or the Aries part of your chart. And hence, we have Venus-Sun conjunction like today, and a Mercury-Sun conjunction on Monday, and an eclipse next weekend. Final one in the Aries series. What else do you want? Well, you get Chiron too. How about that? Ha! Don't be leaving me drunk texts. Frustration. Me or anybody else. A super Aries in the chat. Steffi G just dropped a super chat on me. That's one way to expend energy. Thanks. Might be a bit sarcastic tonight. With slow fades. Hi, Tara. Hi, KP. Hi, Steffi G. Super chat. Scorpio Muse. It's Mars people in here. What's going on? Frustrated on a Saturday night? Floreal. Blessed up from New York. Late over there. I know there's a pizza place open. There's people walking around the streets of New York. They're prowling, you know what I'm saying? Those ain't hooked up with somebody. It's always in the cauldron of New York and the boroughs. They're really prowling. Everybody only got one thing on their mind. You know what I mean? They only got one thing on their mind. They're either alone or they're not. And if they're alone, there's something that they want. And if they're not alone, there's still something that they want. Hopefully the spark is still there with people who are together on a Saturday night. Late night in New York. Rayfay 20. Chilling in the afternoon. Early days of fall in Australia. Patrick. If I leave a drunk text, Neptune 1. Don't worry, you got plenty of time for that. Maybe you need to surrender and lose to Neptune. Gardenia. Blazing space. Movements. Actually, that's the way to deal with a frustrated Aries. Some sort of movement has to happen. Maybe it's a movement into the sun. Jim, what's up? I'm going to read things tonight. Tonight's a reading night. You tell me what this is. I heard it today. It's a part of this. Every move you make, every vow you break, every smile you fake, and every claim you stake, Aries be watching you. It's hard to watch when you're in the sun. But since you've been gone, I've been lost without a trace. I dream at night and I only see your face. I look around, but it's you that I can't replace. I feel so cold. I long for your embrace. To TNX, Venus got toasty with my date night this weekend in good and bad ways. Well, that's what happens. There's always consequence and fiery actions. It's another thing for you Aries people, Aries planets. Consequence. You know what that is? Do you even care? You ever say you're sorry? Anyway, Saturn transit's coming your way. You're really going to know what the hell consequence is. You know what it is. But luckily you have Neptune there. Help you out. Maybe you turn consequence into something else. That the actions that are taken, initiated, the assertiveness of Aries has a bigger thing to it, a bigger story connected to it, not just about oneself. You could still think about others and do things in a way and still be yourself and still be assertive with yourself. Doesn't mean the collateral damage that happens when Aries energy tries to push forward, because there usually is. There's a collateral damage that will happen to an Aries, and then there's a collateral damage that will happen outside of them. And it happens in a very minor way. It happens in a very big way. It just depends on the person and the Aries story and where they're at with that. But regardless, Saturn is coming your way. I would in particular would use a weekend like this weekend, like a Sun-Venus conjunction, to see your relationship with all that. And down the line will help you. It won't be so Saturnian hard maybe. Maybe there's something here in your Aries world after a year and a half of eclipses. After this Mercury and Venus retrograde's done, going through, and the lessons you'll take from Pisces, and bring that Piscean lessons here about the collective, the bigger story, the bigger vision, and how you do focus it for your will and your attention and your assertiveness in the world and your independence in the world. But it won't be on the dark side of selfish, right? You'll still have something where it's for the benefit of all. So saying that, we take a moment, like a Sun-Venus conjunction today, tonight, or in the morning, wherever the hell you are, to let go and to oh my God, can an Aries say this word I'm about to say? I'm gonna try. I'm gonna be an Aries right now. If I'm talking, okay. Can I say this word? I'm an Aries and I am surrendering. Surrendering. I surrender. I Aries surrender. Is my white flag. I surrender into the sun. Overachievement? No, I don't care about overachievement anymore. I will not be demanding anymore. Like, at least for now, I'm gonna review and my demand, how I demand for things is going to go through a metamorphosis. I'm going to change the way I do that. My way of being, the times I'm impatient, I get impatient, and then I get impulsive, and then I get all headstrong, and I'm going to totally review this as an Aries. I'm going to do this, and I see the ways I need to change. And in a sense, burn down these parts of myself to its purest form. I am just a spark in the universe. And that is what I will not lose ever, is this spark, the ignition, the raw, without thought, action and initiation. It is what happens after that singular moment that I actually know how to use and channel and direct in a way that is positive for myself and for the rest of the world. That I could still execute my freedom and my independence, but in a new way, a way that I've never thought and felt before. It is only the beginning of this rebirth and metamorphosis process that I surrender to, that I must do it again with Mercury. And I will do it again when Venus and Mercury are in Pisces, touching Neptune, touching Saturn, touching the the node in Pisces. I will do it again next weekend when the final eclipse at 9 degrees Aries happens. The same place that Venus stationed retrograde weeks ago. And now I'm Venus in Aries in the middle of the sun here, in the halfway point from when I started going backwards at 9-10 degrees, where the eclipse next weekend will be. And I will have another gate, another moment to burn down myself in the purity. And it seems to be, with planets going backwards and an eclipse coming, that it would feel like I'm taking 2 steps backwards. You are, in one way, literally from the view of Earth, but you really aren't. You actually are taking 2 steps forward. It's just in a way that you've never done before. So it doesn't seem like the sword you're wielding is going forward and slashing through the path in front of you. It doesn't seem that way. But you are. It's just a way you've never done before. And if you can accept this and roll with it and surrender. Then the glory that you seek will be waiting for you, and you will be able to construct it during a Saturn and Neptune transit that will happen in Aries. So you might as well deal with the stuff now. I know you want what you want now. I'll tell you one thing. On this guy, this streamer still has the button in the finger that will still use the sword and chat. And you would hope that people understand and learn lessons, that they understand dynamics between one's actions and the rest of the people they're involved in at the same time. As you know, I'm definitely a Saturn person and will wield it. Thanks for joining me on the stream. I see Karen Locker in here, and I see the lilac tree that says, was that the Stalker song that you just put up on the screen? It is what some people call the Stalker song that I read from earlier. Which is Every Breath You Take by the Police. 1983. As a matter of fact, since we're on a roll here, Sting astrology chart. I'm curious now. Let's see. We got a birth chart of Sting. It does 73. He's a Libra. He's got Saturn and Libra Sun. He's gonna have Saturn. He's gonna have Saturn opposition again. Is that what's gonna happen to this dude? He's got Jupiter in Aries. He's got Mars in Leo. It's about to have Mars returning. Jupiter. He's got Jupiter in Aries at 9 degrees. Can you believe that? And he's got Saturn at 5. He's about to do a Saturn opposition very, very soon here. And he's got a moon in Libra. He is a new moon person. Yeah, look at that. He's just going to do it on the opposite end. Isn't he? Sarah's in chat. Jen D with a super chat. Thank you. Hope you're faring well during this eclipse season. I'm hanging in there. I don't got too long of tonight of what I got to deal with. I thought I'd pop on here and do my thing. Again, I'm about to wield the sword. And I want to say hi to everybody I mentioned earlier. Steffi G, CC99, you're here. I hope you can stay here. Karen Locker is here. JS Ballard. Yes, hard Kazemi moment today in your first. All right, JS. Sometimes it's that way, isn't it? Sometimes it's that way. Listen, just pay attention here. I'll pull up the chart in a second. As a matter of fact, I'll do it right now. There it is here. Here it is at 2 degrees. So note, anybody who is affected by this and is feeling it these days, this particular degree, you know that, Mercury is going to pass over this particular place here very, very soon in the next so many days. And, Venus is going to be here again when she moves forward later down the line. So you got chances to work on things if it is tough and to reevaluate, kind of reset here in the next couple of weeks while we do this. And so just want to give that to you as a piece of hope of something that you can use in your world. But thank you, Jen D, for the super chat. Violet is in the house. Hi, Violet. Mani is here too. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's weird. Sting, it makes sense he's a Libra, by the way, in a lot of ways, if you think about his artistic prowess. But again, I don't know where this birth times come from, but I hate not looking at this in my own software. It's going to drive me crazy. But yeah, he's got Venus in Virgo, Mercury in Virgo. That Mars in Leo is what you really catch, I think, a lot of times too, because he's got Pluto and Mars on the ascendant, and I think the Leo is what you catch with this dude, his presence, his whole thing, So saying that, yeah. Hold on a second. Yeah. All right. Good. Angela's in the house. I see you. I might have to switch to a different position here because I'm standing doing the stream. Kind of want to sit down. All right. Sarah Liza, hi. So yeah, let's do this really quick, and let me go back to this. So basically, this moment here, I think, again, I think Aries people have been through a lot the last year and a half because of the eclipses that have been happening to them. So I think there's a lot of work that's been done on their end and a lot of realization. Let's not forget the Libras in this whole damn story, by the way, because they're in this too. So there's people, remember, you all have this in your charts, the Libra Venus or the Libra Aries polarity, Mars and Venus. And, I don't really give a shit right now about the essential dignity shit or whatever. Because what I deal with mostly, I use it, I understand it. I'm saying you have to learn those things and take it into your practice. But I'm not gonna poo-poo on a transit and be weird about it because Venus is not in the place it doesn't like to be in, supposedly. And there's millions and billions of people that have Venus in Aries in their charts. So talk to them about it, what it is. They can't change it, and they're not fucked, okay? So anyway, saying that, I think whenever you run to someone who's an Aries, and they, because of the strong-willed part of them, and that benefits them a lot of the times, or can, but when you run into one that becomes humbled and comes to a place where their ego takes a couple hits, like they got ego bruises going on, and real shit. I love talking to them at these places because there is a certain type of understanding that they portray. Some will use the victimization. It'd still be in the ego place, and it's kind of a false place that happens. So, hold on. So, you got to be careful. But for the most part, when I catch somebody with, I'm moving a table right now. Give me a second. When you catch one who is, hold on. You catch one who's humbled, then you're like, they'll speak the truth, like the rawest of truth, the rawest of tears, and it's, when I see that, I'm like, you're there, like you're doing the work, and there's the surrenderness, but you can be bold and assertive in vulnerability, in that rawness where it's not like a loss from the win and lose perspective. It's not a loss. And so I think that's a lesson you could talk to anybody with Aries or Aries people. They could tell you stories about this. And they could tell you from a spiritual warrior perspective, So, what happens after a situation like today and the reconfiguration? From the astronomical view, will happen down the line where Venus will start to show up as morning star, right? And that's going to happen soon enough, and we do this sacred cycle. But I think here also the story is tied into Pisces so much in this particular time, and what Aries, after moving forward Venus and Mercury, then having to go back, and with all these Piscean transits happening, they're intertwined in this particular story. And Venus is going to go through Neptune again, it's like 3 times. Mercury's going to do it too. There's a Saturnian 3 times total. So it is a quest, and if it's from the warrior's point of view quest, then you are in those places where it's a different kind of an aloneness, where it's humble alone, Later on, you're alone on the quest, reborn with new armor and shit, and you get to build something with Saturn and Neptune in your sign for at least 3 years. But for right now, there is a metamorphosis happening, and we go back in the Pisces to get some bigger clues about how one comes from a compassionate, loving place and how they treat themselves, and then how they emanate that in the world eventually when they're back in the Aries, how they're taking the action and the assertiveness and showing their independence with love and compassion. That's the way you would want it to be. Being love and compassionate, and let me just say this word here that's more on the Piscean realm of things that an Aries can either be reminded of or recharge in their life and all that. And it's a word that many people right now are really scared of. And it's the word empathy. Because there's a lot of straight dudes out there in America who are feeling a false sense of empowerment. I actually think they're in this part of the story of like ego death where they actually are falsely winning. Like they feel winning, and they're winning because they're not being empathetic. We've heard him say it in an interview. By the way, he is a fucking snowflake and a half, that guy Elon Musk. We know he is just hopped up on meds, and he's just a small kid with a complex of being bullied as a kid and not getting what he wants. But when you start to do things from a cardinal place in parts of your chart where it affects other people, this is the problem. And the dark side of being cardinal, let's say Aries movements, is a false sense of power. So saying that, for those who are in the process of understanding themselves in the Aries parts of their chart, and we go back in the Pisces, we go to the compassionate, loving place in the end. We can go to the deluded place, by the way. That's a thing. But we're going to stick to the connection between these retrogrades from Aries to Pisces, Pisces to Aries. And I think one goes back into a place of a certain different type of sensitivity that one can be okay with, that's empathetic and love and filled with compassion and love. And you take that and you come to terms with it. And it doesn't mean by being that way that you're a loser, or you're going to lose the fight, or you're not man enough, or you're not masculine enough. So one takes that and they go through this metamorphosis that's happening today with Sun Venus and keep going, go through the Piscean realm and get reinforced again with a certain reality check by Saturn, connecting to a bigger vision and dream, the wholeness of yourself and everything and nothing with Neptune, and then redo it again with Mercury bringing the messages. Mercury's going to do it faster than Venus here. The next couple of weeks when Mercury stations forward and then comes back through Aries, it's ahead of Venus. Luckily, we have Mercury guiding the whole damn transits here that are happening with Aries and Pisces people. So saying that, it's like you're not a loser, and you're not losing if you surrender. And if you're surrendering to empathy and compassion and love, and look at that as something that is incredibly beneficial, at the same time, once things move over in Aries, you still get to wield your independent, assertive selves in the world. It's just how you do it and with the intention of things. And this is where the impulsive part comes in, because Aries get a bad rap for being impulsive and being the spark. And we need that in life. We all need that in our Aries parts of our chart. But still, you can have a spiritual code behind it all. It doesn't have to be, I just did this, and then hence the collateral damage that happens off to oneself or to other people. You could still be assertive and powerful and independent and still not fuck with anybody. As a matter of fact, your actions turn into benefit for everybody. So, again, this process, it can happen this way. I'm not saying you out there with Aries or whatever are doing this, but you could take what you want from this and piece it and see where you are in all this. You don't. Also, I'm not saying all Aries, there's a lot of Aries people out there who don't know what it is to be an Aries, actually. They can have planets in Aries that have a Neptune square to it or a Saturnian square to their Mars in Aries per se, where they actually never been able to play out their Mars in Aries. It's been thwarted by Saturnian narratives in their life. And they have to come to terms with that square, and they have to use Saturn and Mars to build what it is to be a Mars and Aries in the world. So there's the other side of this where people are going through a metamorphosis in a way of reclaiming their power in that way, that they actually don't know how to be assertive, and they're getting the chance to see what that is, even if their collateral damage is partly like fumbling along the way and falling on their face while they're attempting to inherently holistically take care of themselves. I'm all for it. You just got to know that you're going to fall on your face. And that's another thing. Some people won't do things because they don't want to fall on their face. So there's different ways that you can look at this. I'll look at chat in a second, but these are the thoughts that have been happening. And I think, again, we just look to the movement between the Aries, Pisces places in our charts and any planets you have connected there. That's why I appreciate transits like this. They can be hard for some people who are Aries people. Let's say, you're an Aries sun right now. It's got 1, 2, 3 degree Aries, or you got planets, and then you got these things, these conjunctions of Cazimi that happens there. It could like wipe your lights out, wipe your energy out, or literally, like I said earlier, like the fire gets sand thrown on it. It could be that way. It's just, can you understand? Can someone step out and look and to see the reasons why? So, and if they don't, they'll learn in different ways. And I think later this year, when we get into the ingresses of Neptune and Saturn, when we get into summer in the northern hemisphere, winter in southern, you will have hints. You're basically going to have Neptune and Saturn. You're going to have Jupiter in Cancer hit this 1, 2 degree place to square this. You're going to have Uranus in Gemini like sextile this place. When it goes into Gemini, Pluto's in the story too, from the 2 to 3 degree, when it's going to go backwards here very, very soon in May, into June or whatever. There's a ton of planets involved here that are hitting these particular places. So a lot of work to be done. And this particular day is a huge chapter in that story. And I feel in particular, if you heard me say on the stream before, that whenever we're working with the personal planets and they're there and they're present in your chart and your life, and let's say the outer body planets are there in the background, you work through your personal planets if they're there. And with something like today with the Venus-Sun conjunction, how we deal with what we want and desire and all this kind of stuff, it is a type of thing where can we accept the metamorphosis and change, right? And a way to do it is through ritual and through acknowledgement. Mani's in chat. I'm looking at your comments here. Who we got in here? We got, all right, so J.S. Ballard says, absolutely, I have not experienced anything neg about Venus and Aries ever. That's pretty good. Sunbath violence. Yeah, you can look at this as a sunbath today. Like a blinding sunbath. Where is I'm hitting, oh, there it is. I think I need more light on my face. Like there, I need more sun on my face. I see. Magnanimous is a good word. Hey, Black Moon Jesus, thanks for joining in with a comment there. That is that's a good word right there. Megan, how are you? Megan's in chat. And I see Karen has a comment, been dealing with a female boss with Sun, Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Chiron, North Node. Oh, yeah. She's seemingly incapable of surrender or empathy. Yeah. You never know, though. You never know, like, if it's a situation where it's at work, you never know what one's dealing with internally, right? Or what they're dealing with at home. You never know, depending how people are, how good of armor they cashed in with their XP point, with their experience, and their dungeon crawling, the armor that they have acquired. So yeah. So saying that, give me a second here. Dexpatina, saludos from Mexico. May, what time? I wonder where you are. It's kind of late too. Yeah. Hello, Dexpatina. Good to see you here. So let's take a look at something actually. Before I read another sort of lyrical poem that I have off to the side here. I don't know why. I have to look it up really quick. Oh, come on, Nicholas. All right, there we go. Let me, damn. All right, I'm going to read these to you before I show some of the degree transits, okay? Goddess on a mountaintop. Burning like a silver flame. The summit of beauty and love, and Venus was her name. She's got it. Yeah, she's got it. I'm your Venus. I'm your fire at your desire. I'm your Venus. I'm your fire. Her weapons were crystal eyes, making every man mad. Black as the dark night she was, got what no one else had. She's got it. So she's got nothing right now. Venus going through the sun, but she will have it again. And that's another song that popped in my world today. Thinking about this is that particular song. All right, so let's do this. We're going to go by the day here, and I want to show you something. This is by the hour. I don't want to go by the hour. I want to go by the day. Day. Here's tomorrow where Mercury's at 5 degrees. All right, let's do this. Mercury's going to go through the sun here on the 24th, which is Monday. So we're going to have the Cassimi there. I've been preaching for a little bit about these particular weekend and going through 2 sun planetary conjunctions with the sun. This is good stuff in the end. I think it's really good. I'm probably going to send an email out on your one of the Cassimi is and program something out. I don't even know if I'm going to say anything. I might just say hi. I might do a post when Mercury's sun conjunction happens, like, hey, hi, how's it going? But whatever it is, you have that, and Mercury gets to do this with Venus. They're in tandem here. It does not perfectly there, but it's there. It's close as you can get with planetary conjunction. So, I'll switch here, and you'll see here. So this is Monday at 6:07, and we're there. Give me a second. I feel like I got a lot of reverb on a reverb. Like it's weird vocals tonight on my mic. It's a little hot. There we go. That's a little bit better maybe. That might have been loud this whole time. You guys don't say anything to me. Let me go back just a little bit here. Now I got what I want. I need something sugary, man. I need some chocolate or something. It's at 12:48. I'll pick this here. This is good enough. I don't want to go messing around. It's at 12:48 here that we have the Sun-Mercury conjunction that's going to happen in Aries at 2 degrees. So we've got massive movements from basically 0 to 4 here that are very, very important. And if you're those with planets here or affected by this, we really want to work today from an introspective point of view into the Mercury end where you can get your brain together with all this. And for some people, they might have to take a look at what's been said in the Aries parts of the chart or the Aries storylines going on in their life the last couple of weeks. I have to just gauge this, and we have a moment of hopefully clarification with Mercury going into the sun, where in a sense the thought has become pure. There's no thought at all, and what comes from that eventually, what is seeded in that moment, comes back into a play for the Aries story. Okay, so that happens at 4 degrees at 12:48 p.m. Pacific on Monday the 24th. I also want to point out a spectacular day this is from the way I like doing astrology, and the reason is because you could see here that a Moon-Pluto conjunction will be happening on the same day, and basically hitting these points. Mercury's going to go back. We're doing a Sun-Mercury, a Sun-Pluto connection that basically happens in between all this on the 23rd. So the day before, we have Sun-Pluto conjunction in Aries with Pluto in Aquarius. We have a sextile. Mercury's going to do this multiple times. So I think here, if one's looking for outlets, we can look from a more higher thought level perspective, and something that can come in new that becomes of a thought or an idea that is powerful, but only later on. I don't think it gets to play itself out here with Mercury going backwards, Sun, but it will. So maybe look to the Aquarius part of your chart here in one way, here to help you with this. Is one way to look at this. So saying that, I, as you know, always like to acknowledge Moon-Pluto days on this channel and on my community group on Instagram. And I'll probably come up with something to say there on the recording there when it comes to Monday. And then we do have, like, 2:33 is the exact Moon-Pluto conjunction that happens at 3 degrees, and it's 4:06 p.m. Pacific that the Moon also sextiles the Mercury here, right, at 4. And then it's 20 minutes later, whatever it is, that the Moon's going to do the sextile with the Sun in Aries. And so when we get into the next day, after the Mercury-Sun conjunction, we get to the 25th, and it's like 3:02 p.m. Pacific. We have Mercury sextile Pluto that I was just talking about right there-ish. It's not the good time on the screen, but you heard what I said, 3:02. And there's that. Moon's going to trine Gemini, Jupiter and Gemini before all this too. Now let's stop here for a second, because a lot of this, if you're looking for more of the details, or if you've forgotten to understand and like, oh, this doesn't quite make sense for me, or how else can this play out, you cannot play out and forget about Mars here in Cancer, because it's ruling all this. It's ruling what's happening today. It's ruling this whole thing in Aries. It's happening. It will rule the eclipse next week. And Mars is moving forward slowly. And you can take a look at this in this cardinal place in your chart. If you have particular places there, it could be playing out there. And so it could be playing out in the Scorpio parts of your chart, wherever Mars-ruled situations are. So that's one way to look at this, and if you need perspective, or it adds to the complexity of your situation. So that happens. And so when we get into to Wednesday, it's turning into a forecast for next week. This is how it goes here. We get into Wednesday, then we see the Moon goes into Pisces right here, right? And then we have Mars basically squaring Chiron. And so we know this happened 2 other times. This particular thing here, these are for the Chiron people involved here. Give me a second. I'm realized something here in my chat. I need to do something. My drop in frames, 25 CPU. Oh yeah, I could tell my stuff is not happening. Oh, that's not a good sign. Why? Oh, I know why. I need to close this here. Give me more power. Yeah, I can't see the chat right now. Oh, come on, man. Give me a second. It just doesn't want to do it. Hold up. Boom. Boom. So we see here, basically, I'll point this out again, and I'm getting there. And let me, there's my chat. I see my chat now. And I knew my chat was frozen on me, so I can't even read what was going on. I'm going to go, I see super chats I'm missing. Lilac Tree with the super chat. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, okay, good. I caught it. Thank you. I knew my intuition was telling me something. I can't see my chat. I don't feel connected to you all. I look at it. You know, I'm reading it on the side of my eye. Like I'm trying to connect to you or stay connected, and I have to watch. And I looked over. It looked like there was no comments. I'm like, I know my chat. They're not gonna not say anything. So yeah. Okay, good. And Sarah, thank you. Sarah, I'll take some of that chocolate right now. I do have Girl Scout cookies actually sitting behind me. I need to get rid of them. I like Tree. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. And you all are consistent on this mofo, on this thing. So anyway, let's take a look at something since we're here. And since I'm going off, it seems to be like on a tangent, but I'm not. And we're going to do something here. We're going to go Mars square Chiron. And this is for my Chiron people. Okay, so here's the 26th that I'm looking at on the screen. Okay. And so if I go back, it's February 3rd where we had the retrograde Mars situation that happened right here at 19 degrees. See this? And that's where Chiron was at 19, and we had the second square that happened, right? So we're looking at this, and then we're going to go back to the first time this happened, which was October 13th last fall in Northern Hemisphere. And so basically you see here 21 and 21. So we have 19, 21, and 21 again. Am I correct by saying this? Back to there, and we will go back to here that I'm looking at on the 26th. And yes, we do. We're at this place of 21. So for those out there who have Cancer placements, Aries placements at this place, I'm sure your particular retrogrades are all this is heated and you're in the cauldron, and there's a lot to deal with and a lot that is surfaced with Mars being in Cancer and having to probe the past and memories and wherever Cancer is in your chart. And it's got a major Chiron healing process it's trying to figure out and do here. And it's been inflamed, or it has been, and it's gone through an irritation process. Make notes that hopefully you're moving forward with this, and if you need help, just go back to those times. Maybe you're going to catch the thread here of what happens between 19, 20, 21, cardinal, or in this case, in Cancer and in Aries, okay? So you can even take this into like South Node eclipses that happened in Libra. I'm not going to do that right now. So there's that. That is basically on Wednesday. And then this is the interesting part here. If you're paying attention, you're looking at this particular chart here, and you're seeing that Venus is at 0 degrees. And so we have this point, this huge place in astrology this year is basically 29 and 0, Pisces, Aries. Okay. And so we're at another version of this brewing to next week. We're going to do this in so many different ways this year that I don't know how many times we have to have it beat into our heads in our own charts trying to figure out this story, but we're going to do it again. And this is interesting here because it's the next day when we get into the 27th, at least Pacific time, right? Here is there. And I will actually go to around the time here. It's like 1 in the morning, maybe, something like that. Let me look. 1:40 Pacific. I'll just keep it right there. You will see that Venus goes back into Pisces at 29, activating this 29-degree Piscean place, activating the void live stream that I did the other night with the Sun Neptune conjunction that happened at 29 degrees, where we were throwing stuff into the Poseidon void. We were letting go and surrendering here, and Venus does another surrendering here again, and it's Venus and Pisces. Remember, this isn't just Venus and Pisces. This is Venus and Aries. Okay, too. They're not separate here. So we're doing another surrendering moment. It's 5 hours later, officially at 6:13 a.m., that you have another Venus-Neptune conjunction that happened. Okay, so saying that, since this stream is turning into this situation, right, we're going to look. We're going to look here to remind ourselves, and I'll show you what I'm doing on screen. We're going to look to see, here is the 27th to 6:13 that I showed. The last one was February 1st, and it happened here. I remember this. I remember this whole weekend. I did a video called Pisces Love Potion. I was in Australia. I remember this weekend. I was in Brisbane at this amazing gallery, this amazing exhibition where I was in a room with this video presentation in the dark that was all underwater with no words. It was so incredible. This Venus-Neptune North Node Saturnian situation that happened. It was like, it took me a while to eat. I was scared. I couldn't sit down. I couldn't like relax. And eventually I did. And it was these cameras underwater and of these like indigenous tribe, either New Zealand, I can't remember, Australia. And there was cameras underneath of how they fish. And it was like, you just heard the language of water in its many different ways and how it's coming across. It was fucking intense. It was beautiful. Anyway, I remember this weekend, and that's when we had this Venus-Neptune conjunction with the Moon and Saturn North Node. It was one of those weekends, right? And so that's what we had. Remember, look at Mars was still retrograde here. Okay, so, and we didn't even hit anything Aries yet, right? At this moment, we weren't even going there yet. And that is connected to the Venus-Sun conjunction, or the Neptune. I'll go, maybe if I have time, I'll go look up the exhibit there on the website. I forget where it was. Oh my God. And I also saw this other part of the exhibition. It was these like figurine stop motion thing that was mind blowing. It was mind blowing. It had everything to do with, it had nothing to do with words. The stuff that hit me the most there in this exhibition. It was so cool. So here we are. Here we are back on the 27th when we're dealing with this next week. 6:13 a.m. Pacific. That moon in Pisces is going to make... What is that beeping noise? It's then on Friday, my time. Well, the moon in Pisces, basically, you're seeing here on the Thursday, but this moon in Pisces is going to make so many aspects, basically, when it moves in from Thursday the 27th all the way into, it starts on the 26th, but on the 28th, when it goes into Aries eventually, it basically does, moon in Pisces will square Jupiter. So much movement happening in the Piscean Aries realm. This moon is going to square Jupiter. It's going to trine Mars, conjunct Saturn, sextile Uranus, conjunct the North Node, conjunct Venus. So we're going to do a Venus conjunction with the moon. Conjunct Neptune moon is. Then it goes into Aries. So we have a super powerful Pisces week coming up, and Mercury's not even there yet, but just know what is next week, and we get to do this on the way to the eclipse. So that's why for me, I'm kind of harping on the fact of surrender, and from the Aries point of view into Pisces, and these things that we need to reconnect with and look at one more time in Pisces to understand, to get a different perspective. And there's a Venus and Mercury element to all this, of having to kind of piece it all out, piece it together, and see where one stands in the big ocean of things. And that big ocean, one gets to a place of what their vision is eventually, of like what it really means, why I'm really here. And we're reviewing that in the Pisces and Aries parts of our chart. And eventually these types of things help us later when things come back in the Aries, my opinion, right? So remember, when the moon goes into Pisces on Wednesday, everything that's going to happen from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Pacific time until we get into the moon in Aries, and we'll show that here. Hello, Purple Alegria 7. Good to see you here in chat. Kate Johnson's in here. I'm catching up. How's it going? Thanks for joining me on a surprise live stream that I'm just talking about whatever's tonight. And it started with Venus. It pretty much started with this. I mean, this is what it started with. It started with this. And it says like surrender, man. I got to surrender, being assertive. My boldness, everything's going through a metamorphosis and death and rebirth process. I want what I want, but I can't get it right now. And I've been under so much pressure because I'm an Aries. And it's just building it up. And usually I have to do it through my body, or I have to fornicate, or I have to have these hot, burning, quick, orgasmic moments with myself or my partner or a stranger in the alley. But I can't do that. I can't do that. It's actually some of the reasons. Sometimes it gets me into trouble, and I have to look at my impulsiveness and my headstrongness. And anyway, it started today with Venus going through the sun and blah, blah, blah. So I need to slow down, basically. And so Aries needs to slow down. So, saying that, we're paying attention. So let's just take a look here before I sum up the stream. Didn't know it was going here, but let's do it. And we're going to keep track. And we're going to go by the hour. We're going to go all through this. No, that's too much to go through the hour. I will go by the day. And here, let me get to boom, boom. And then I will go where the Aries moon, and we're going to go by the hour when I need to go by the hour. No, not by the second. I need to go by the hour. There we have this thing. This is what I wanted to show you. Okay, we'll go another hour. We'll go here. So here is, you see, at least Friday Pacific, it's on the 28th. Here we are, a moon Venus Neptune conjunction that will be happening, with the moon basically moving. The moon's basically carrying Saturn, North Node, and Venus into Neptune. So the moon's going to carry all of a Saturnian story. All of Neptune is carrying the light basically from all these planets. And then it's going to go through Neptune and somehow it dissolves or goes through its muted process into nothingness, into the void. And then the moon basically goes kaboom, and it goes, oh, I'm going to bring all of that story. I'm going to bring it to you, Mercury. I'm going to meet you at this 0 degree point, this 0 degree place. Okay. And there you have such a fascinating, interesting thing that's leading up to an eclipse that we're going to do. And so basically I will go further by the hour. Here you see the moon go through Mercury. Now it's carrying Mercury with it, and leading up to the eclipse that's going to happen here, which is here, this particular chart. I'm going to actually try to do a video on this, and I'm going to do one of the most gimmicky things that you could do on YouTube with it. And so here it goes right here at 9 degrees. We have the eclipse that's going to happen on 3:57 a.m., the partial solar eclipse that's happening next Saturday Pacific on March 29th at 9 degrees Aries. You could see Mercury here now is at the 0 degree place. This important place here, and we know what it's about to do. It's about to go right back at the 29 and hit Neptune for another Mercury-Neptune conjunction. I will take a look at the last time that happened again before I'm done, and then I will take a break. So there's that. I won't talk too much about the eclipse right now, but you could see the movement that's happening here. And why I like today's Sun-Venus conjunction, and why I like the Mercury-Sun conjunction, and what the moon and Mercury and Venus are going to do this whole week to get to this eclipse. No way out of this. There's no way out of metamorphosis. There's no way out of a planetary sun conjunctions that bring a death and rebirth process in a phase where it needs to happen. There's just no way out. It's an acceptance and surrendering to stuff like this. But the power that's involved in surrendering and getting a different outlook eventually because of things is what awaits here on the journey, and what can await. It's just how you do it. It's just how you do it in your own chart. Now, how I say to do it, it's how you do it. It's how the insights you catch. And it doesn't necessarily happen means it happens exactly in those points and days and times and hours. But it's just the observation of things, because when you surrender, you're also observing and you're present in the moment. It doesn't mean you surrender life force and you don't surrender your vision and acceptance of what nature brings to you to help you push you on your way and your course and your path. We surrender to that. That's not nothing. It's everything. It's life. So that's powerful. It's not disempowering, surrendering, right? So anyway, so saying that's the eclipse chart. Okay, and that is at least on my end, the 29th, it's at 7:17 p.m. And let's do it by the hour. I'll pick here. You could see now that Mercury has gone through. This is total eclipse time. This is not like 2 days later. It's just part of the eclipse, Mercury at 0 and then going in to 29. So it's loaded at this 29 0-degree place, this letting go and initiation place. So anyway, Mercury goes in, has a conjunction with Neptune. That's going to happen at 7:46 p.m., not even half an hour after Mercury goes back into Pisces. Then it's conjunction with Neptune. And saying that, then we have this thing happening. And it's basically the next day, 5 in the morning, my time. That on Sunday Pacific at 5 in the morning, Mercury and Neptune switch places. And we have the ingress of Neptune going into Aries. Huge week in astrology. A huge week that sets us up for the massive narrative of the year of 0 and 29 degrees, Aries and Pisces stuff that we'll be hitting in multiple ways. We're in the concentrated moment right now that this is happening. Saturn and Neptune are going to do this a bunch later in the year. When we get into the eclipse time 6 months from now, you will see where Saturn and Neptune are and what's going to be happening. We'll be hitting these places again later down the line. So saying that, that is happening. Neptune going on a Sunday, and then we will be hitting a moon in Taurus, and I'm stopping because I had no clue this was going to turn into a weekly forecast, so I might actually edit this out and post it for next week. So, and yeah, I know it just keeps going. It's just wild. It's just wild. It's so good. So you could see what's happening here with Venus going all the way back. It's going to hit Saturn again. Mercury's going to do this. And then they're all going to come forward in Pisces or in Aries eventually. And they're going to go through Neptune and Aries. And so you have the new vision in play at that point when this happens. Shit. What if I just put this chart we're going to just do 1 month ahead and see what the hell happens. So here's 1 month ahead on the 30th of April from this point. Let's just look at where the transits are. Here you could see Mercury at 29 degrees going through Saturn basically. Or no, there's Venus moving forward at 29 right out of the retrograde. You could see Mercury already is sped up. So it did its conjunction with Neptune. This is April 30th, right? And we're there. And, look at Venus. Or Mars. Mars is coming back to the place almost where it's stationed retrograde in Leo in the beginning of December. It's relentless now all the way to the end of April. But we definitely worked this time to set us up for the rest of the year. That's a lot. I didn't know I was going to do this. I didn't know I was going to go there. I didn't know. I don't know anything. I don't know anything, okay? I don't want to know anything. I look at the transits. I need to know things because I need to help people at times. But then at the same time, I don't want to know anything. When do I know when to apply and alter and control? And when do I know when to observe and let go? When do I know to assert myself in the world? And when do I know to surrender to the world? How do I do this? How do I do the dance between those two things? And if my ingrained habitual story that runs on impulse that's gotten me to this point of survival that I'm so used to doing on impulse, let's say it's the Aries part of my chart. If I do that, how do I know when to let go of control and assertiveness of putting my place on the map in the world that I impulsively, instinctually have to do? How do I know when to stop when it's so intrinsic, so melted into my possible survival, my traumas, my everything to survive? When do I stop and let the world guide me and surrender to the sea, to the nothingness, to the spirits, to the divine, to God, whatever you want to fucking call this shit? When do I know to do this? So it's the art of this. It's the art of that. It's the art of being human, I think. And it's the art of being like, you're in the world and you must do this, what calls you. But you have to understand the bigger picture of if it's aligned on the bigger picture on a spiritual tip. I'm just going to take it there, right? And so it's like, what is it? How is it? How does one do that or not know how to do that? You have to learn how to do that? If you don't know how to do it, I think you're getting clues right now with the transits of how to do this, instincts and intuition. The now versus the bigger picture, that's everything and nothing. Knowing when to put your foot into the world and to take initiative, and knowing when to let the world guide you. And this is something here that goes into the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we'll be dealing with for the next 2 years, in one sense, happening in Aries. Is this particular story and dance that happens in the Aries part of your chart, and how you do where Mars is in your own chart that fuels that Aries part of your chart and the Scorpio part of your chart, how this is going to happen in the world when one needs to break off and find their independence and understand what authoritarianism is, their own structure, how they deal with authority within themselves or other people, when to take control of their space in the world, and at the same time let nature take its course and surrender to that. That's still a bold idea, that's still assertive, that's still being Aries, but can you let go? It could play out in other ways where one is stamped down with authoritative situations in their life that doesn't give them the Aries freedom, and they will have to find creative ways out of that situation when they're working with the Neptune and Saturn conjunction that's going to happen in Aries. This is us as individuals, and this is us as the world where we're going. But if you're looking for where you have the most say, if you're looking for the most insight, the most everything in all this, you look to your own world. And right now, you look to where these transits are with Venus and Mercury going retrograde and all this stuff that's happening I just showed you. This is where you have, I think, much more insight and allow the surrendering to happen with a rebirth process with Venus Sun today and Mercury Sun, and all these things are going to happen in the next month and a half. I think you get the clues. I think you get the tools, and I think you get to bring them to you in the future. And even if it isn't as clear as you want, later on in the future, like this summer, even next year when we officially do Neptune-Saturn conjunction, by the way, they'll be sextiling Pluto and Uranus and all this too. You might know then. Then maybe I'll actually know. So right now, I don't want to know. And I'm surrendering to that. I don't really want to know. But I'm here and I'm open and I surrender. Bring it to me. Give it to me. Angels, show me where to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, show me where to go. So that's what's been on my mind. That's what part of why I want to tell you today. I want to thank all of those in chat. I'm about to put you. I'm surrendering here because this is the last time this is going to happen in chat, CC99. This is the last time with the one-word things. You've done this for my channel, coming in and out of here for a long time. You disappear and come back. And I'm always open for people coming into my thing. But it's a weird way of getting fucking weird shit, and I don't like it. But I'm letting it go right now. But I'll tell you, I have the hammer always waiting. I don't fuck around. So just here's your chance right now. Right now, to reset the way you come on my streams and on my chat. Down the line, I'll have some stuff on Saturn, Neptune. There's some other stuff that's coming. Again, fundamental moments this year for 29 0-degree placements. When you're dealing with outer body planets that are changing signs altogether within a year and a half, 2 years, we've been talking as astrologers as these one door closes, another one opens. It just doesn't happen in one day. Pluto's in. Pluto's locked in now. Ain't going back. Saturn's going to change. Neptune's got to play the game this year with Saturn. Uranus is going to do the same thing. So you know that what this year is all about. You're resetting, you're revamping, you're recalibrating, you're burning into the sun, and you're coming back. And we lock into next year, springtime. We're in a new world, new age, and ain't no going back. And it's at that point where your sword and shield's up, and you're applying and you're creating and you're taking the vision of Neptune and you're solidifying it with Saturn and Aries, and then Pluto and Uranus are going to be hitting the mind power, the air power, and all this, and connecting with this stuff in fire. And we are going into some new places. And now, regardless of how intensely crazy the world is right now and stuff, you're going to have a place in the story. It's just the biggest thing you got to remember from my point of view on this channel is that you know where you stand with your code that you're figuring out now in the bigger vision of things. And then you have discipline in the sense of like a practice or tools that funnel into a Saturnian discipline for you to work things out for, even if you don't know the answers to things, that you have the practice to push you through every day when it gets really shitty. And then on a deeper level, as you know on this channel, on a more political level, you know that I've been saying stuff here for a long time about trusting yourself from the Pluto and Aquarius game. And a lot of what we're doing with this Aries stuff is about trusting yourself and recalibrating that. And when Pluto and Aquarius bigger story comes in, along with Saturn, Neptune, and Aries, in a sextile thing, there's an opportunity there of how we stand in culture and society and our groups of friends and all that. As autonomous individuals in our creativity, being assertive and bold, inherent to our fire, and at the same time watching out for other people. And that can happen. That is not a false hope. That is not some fucking far out fucking dream. It's not. It's real. It's how shit gets done. That's how movements happen. That's how community changes. And that's how you have each other's backs in the end. And it's in a new place. And you have to surrender to the old structures that are having control on you or that you depended on in the past. And they're not working. How many times we have to look at it and say, it's not working. That's why things are fucked. So it's like, now what? Well, we do the work now. You find your tools, you find the structure and the discipline, and you will find your people. And you'll connect. And you'll have your moments of glory where we are in power together and we're making a difference. Because there's nothing else, got nothing to lose, right? So be hopeful in this. Be hopeful with the astrology. We always look at different sides of it, the possibilities and the realities, all this stuff. And it's like, on this channel, I don't run away from hard transits or whatever, but I'm not going to base my money making and my titles of my videos and a lot of other shit on this to cash in on fear and anxiety. I want to take fear and anxiety within myself or the clients that I work with, and we got to find a way. And there's times in all this that part of finding the way is to understand silence and space and just kind of being there. And because you can't do everything all the time. You can't constantly take action. So it's the balance between when to be assertive and bold in the new place that you're discovering, and at the same time knowing when to chill and to listen and to let the universe guide you. Everyone else is trying to figure this out. And when you have situations with outer body planets changing into these other elements, your antennas are up. We're going to find each other down the line. We'll be aligned in our movements and our actions, and we'll be doing it in such a different creative way that even if we seem like we lose at certain times, we know that we attempted. And not only did we attempt, we had fucking fun, and we had a rush doing it, trying to change our worlds, right? That we didn't sit and we didn't give up. And for those who can't be in certain spaces on the streets out there in certain places, we also know that we are speaking for them, that we are standing for them. So whether it's communities online or in communities in person, which I am so all about, there is a new way of doing this. It could be different apps, could be different ways. Maybe you're not on the internet anymore. I don't know exactly what it is for you, but I do know intuitively, and I feel really strong about this, that some of the stuff we're doing now sets us up for some glory later. So don't lose hope, okay? When you're feeling whatever, you know what you got to do to take care of yourself. But don't lose the dream. You don't have to lose the dream. You don't have to lose the hope and the faith. All right. So saying that, I got some things before I leave, and so saying that, James Sanders, I want to say thanks for the super chat. Good intentions, better angels. It's like a song, lyrics to a song. Thanks, James, for that. Good to see you here. And then Rafe with a super chat. Thank you too. They're your first one. We all see this. Thank you so much. Thank you, Rafe 20 with a donation. It says, let's celebrate the first super on the live stream. Now, if it was another point in my life, I'd pull a big bong hit, but I don't do that anymore. So symbolically, cheers. So Patrick, yeah. And Mani, thank you for a super chat also. Mani says, dig this live stream. Thank you. Thanks you for being up late with me tonight here on the West Coast or wherever you are. Waving Cat, hey, I didn't see you. Oh, shit. Oh, wait a second. Waving Cat says, we got to acknowledge this stuff. Waving Cat says, it's my birthday. It's my birthday, but my solar return was yesterday during combustion. Baked in this astro moment for the whole year, as well as Neptune, Saturn. Yes, happy birthday, my friend. That's really good. Yeah, you got an interesting solar return chart, don't you? You're yeah, you got a Venus-Sun conjunction. You're going through the rebirth process all year long. Shit, that's rare business right there. Happy birthday, my friend. And God, birthdays are so fun. Isn't it funny when you acknowledge somebody's birthday? Because when you know your birthday's coming. So mine's in June, right? So here comes May, a month before my birthday. Everybody's dealing with this constantly. Like, so for somebody right now is going to be like, oh man, like the Taurus is like, soon my birthday's going to happen. They're all doing 12th house stuff, clearing up stuff. Anyway, but it's funny with birthdays, it's like, or birthday months that people have, like signs that have, like, oh, we're Aries birthdays, here we are. Happy birthday. James Sanders, I've been feeling the discomfort of letting go of my instinct to control as well. It's hard to be hopeful, but keep the faith anyway. I feel you, James. Listen, man, I got my moments every fucking day. That's for sure. Yeah, all right, cool. I might have to edit this video, like take it and put it into pieces for the video for a week. I might do that tomorrow. Instead of doing a recorded video, I actually might record an audio thing for my podcast. I haven't done that in a while. I might do that tomorrow for fun, like say everything I said in a different way without looking at charts and letting my mind flow. But, or who knows, when I pop up on a live stream. There's a lot this week to do that with. The thing I was going to say is, I should do a video for next week's eclipse. Now, I'm going to be real with you with what I've learned as a YouTube creator, and I'm just in my infancy from the astrology end. If you noticed, I haven't done a video for a long time that's recorded, not a live stream, but I haven't done a video where I go, Venus retrograde, all signs. Just so you know, when you're looking at those videos, they get a lot of views. I've done them in the past. I get a lot of views. But when you look at the analytics and the chapter markers, no one stays. It's only a certain percentage stays and watch all the way through. They're clicking just for their rising sign. And it's a really cheap, quick, and easy way to get followers. So I haven't done it in a while. And I'm saying this publicly that I might do it for next week for the sole experimentation to see who shows up new, because it's an all signs video. And it's just one of these things, right, that YouTube astrology people use and do to try to get people. But in the end, it's more about click-through rates and who stays along with the video. Now, not a lot of people stay along with my videos. I used to get 1,000 views for each video, and that's changed in the last year. I'm getting sub 1,000 views because the algorithms changed, and there's a lot going on behind the scenes. A lot of people are trying to figure this out right now. I am trying not to be like, let that stress me out. Like, I know this is ebb and flow, right? So, but I might do this all signs thing just to see what happens, and like what kind of thumbnail I'm going to do, and the title, it's got to be simple, all signs. It's always interesting to me when I'm looking at other channels of people I have no clue about in astrology. They got 30, 40,000 subscribers. Some have taken a long time to build this stuff up. Other people, they've gotten instantly because there's a formula and all that. I go back and forth with all of this. I just do. So right now, though, whatever. But I'm giving you a clue, like, just so you know what happens on the back end with the analytics. With all signs videos, you'll look at the analytics and it's like this jagged waveform, and it's because people are just clicking on their rising sign and then not watching the rest of the video. So those all signs videos work that way. So when you look at an all signs video and it says 5,000 views, there's probably 20% of those views that actually watch the whole video. Do you see what I'm saying? So anyway, that's what's up there. Let me refresh this for myself. Does it give me a refreshing thing? And then I'll head out of here with a little something words, a little bit of somethings. All right, so yeah, happy birthday. Thanks y'all for being in here in chat, okay? And so let me end it this way. I don't want to do card pull. I'm gonna go take a look at something here. I haven't opened up this book in a while. 95? Tell to me, muse, of the deeds of golden Aphrodite who came from Cyprus, who arouses sweet desire among the gods and overwhelms the tribes of human beings who die, and the winged birds and all the wild beasts. that the dry land nourishes, and the sea, all are concerned with the doings of Cytherea of the lovely crown. But 3 hearts there are that she cannot persuade or deceive, the daughter of Zeus, who carries the Aegis, flash-eyed Athena, who takes no pleasure in the acts of golden Aphrodite. Athena's like not digging it. Who finds her pleasure in wars and the doings of heirs, and in battles and fights, and in fostering beautiful crafts. She was the first to teach man the maker who dwells on the earth to make chariots and cars fancy with bronze. She taught young girls in the house, whose flesh is tender, how to make beautiful handicrafts, informing the minds of everyone. Nor does laughter-loving Aphrodite ever master in love, Artemis of the golden shafts and the shriek of the hunt, for she delights in archery and the killing of wild beasts in the mountains and the lyre, and dances in the thrilling cry and shadowy woods and the city of just men. Nor does Hestia, the chaste maid, take pleasure in the doings of Aphrodite, whom wily Kronos begot first, yet so revered, is also the youngest, by the will of Zeus, who carries the Aegis, who Poseidon and Apollo wished to marry. But she was in no way willing. Decidedly she turned them away. She swore a great oath, that marvelous goddess that has come to pass, touching the head of her father Zeus, who carries the Aegis, that she would remain a virgin for all her days. And I'll tell you where this comes from. Her father Zeus gave her a noble privilege in the place of marriage, receiving fat. She took her place in the middle of the house. She is honored in all shrines of the gods, and she is fashioned as preeminent among mortals. Of these goddesses, Aphrodite is not able to persuade nor deceive their minds, but of the others there is nothing that can escape Aphrodite, neither among these blessed gods or among humans who die. Even the mind of Zeus, who delights in the thunderbolt, she has led astray, who is greatest in honor. Yet she beguiles easily his wise mind whenever she wishes, and couples him with mortal men, putting Hera out of his mind. Poor Hera, by the way. Her sister and bedmate, who is best in appearance among the undying goddesses, the noblest daughter of wily Kronos and her mother Rhea. And Zeus, whose counsels are forever, made her chaste wife trusty in her thoughts. It was in Aphrodite's heart that Zeus cast sweet desire to have intercourse with a mortal man. It goes on and on. You can read this. It's one of the oldest stories, the Homeric hymn number 5 to Aphrodite, and it has to do with a lot more other things. And I was reading this last night because it goes past the traditional ways of just looking at what Venus or Aphrodite does. It's always complex and it's always give and take, but in the end it does have to do with that thing. See ya, Patrick. It has to do with that thing. What's that thing I'm talking about? LOVE and whatever that is. Jeez. Venus and Aries says, I love you. You're mine. I want you now. Hold on now. Hold on now. Y'all worked up. Bow down and go into the sun, okay? You'll be fresh in the end. Coming out as morning star. Innocent this time. Innocent in your Venus and Aries actions. After the whole journey that you're going to do, you're going to go do this fight. Everything you're going to do. You'll get what you want. I just think what you want now is not what you're going to want later. So Venus in Aries, bow down to the sun. You'll find a new love. You know what I mean? See you later, everybody. See you around. Take it easy. I envision, I predict one mint sitting in the freezer Girl Scout cookie. Just one. And I will eat it slowly. Bite by bite. Not all at once, Venus and Aries, but slowly.